All right, high rollers, I am fascinated with our subject matter today. One of the most pure talents in darts history, a two-time world champion. His throw when he is on is so silky smooth, it'll make your eyes pop. He's fast and quick, deadly accurate, 180s for fun, big checkouts, not an issue, 9 darters, no problem. Had one in the world final. A true superstar of the game. The problem of late, he hasn't been on. He's been anything but superstarish, and to be honest, sometimes less than mediocre, downright dismal in some cases. Adrian Lewis, and with us to discuss everything 80 is Wesley Grendel. We know him and love him on Twitter at Vintage Jackpot. A massive fan. Wes, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being our high roller today, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's quite interesting, actually, because there's a lot of things happening around Adrian Lewis. No, the last couple of 18 to almost 24 months, really.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's start with the big news of today, the Grand Slam of Darts. Before we get to the draw, which just happened before we started recording, first he had to qualify to get there, which he did yesterday, and you must have been over the moon about that.
Yeah, before it started, I really didn't actually think he was gonna qualify if you look at recent form, but somehow he scraped through with a great first match, maybe a slack second match, but the third match against West was great, and apparently a bit of needle as well, because West was apparently angry because Adrian was shouting throughout the match.
Wow, tell us about this, because I haven't heard this.
I read about it from Team Jackpot on Twitter, and it was allegedly that Steve West was annoyed that Adrian was shouting because it was pretty much the most important match of this year if you look about the rankings. So over the last 2 years with his injury, he didn't obviously play the Grand Slam in 2017. So this part of the year, there's a lot of money to go up on his ranking, and it meant a lot of him. And we have seen this in the last couple of months, that he was shouting in crucial times. And apparently Steve West was annoyed. I can't really confirm that it's true, but I've read that Team Jackpot on Twitter heard it.
Wow. You know what? This is nothing unusual for Adrian. He's had a few run-ins over the years. We're going to talk about that a little later. I saw one of your tweets yesterday, though, where he averaged 87. The thing about Adrian, he still has glimpses of the old brilliance.
Yes, indeed, but there's a lot wrong, I guess, about his throw, his rhythm, his timing, as Mardles alluded to. But it's just the talent that carries him sometimes, which makes him have those patches, I guess.
Yeah, it seems to be a mental game. We're going to talk about that as well. The draw was made today on PDC Facebook Live. Barry Hearn was drawing the balls. He ends up in Group A, maybe a group of death, I don't know. Michael Van Gerwen's in it, Ross Smith, and Jim Williams. Seems like a tough group. It seems like one that MVG will win, but Adrian's got a real chance to come out of.
I think so as well. It's a shame, no, not really a shame, but I'm quite into it. The format is really short, so against Michael he probably won't stand a chance at first, unless he starts great, but that's the problem. We don't really know what Adrian is going to turn up, and it hasn't been the fired up high averages at starts. If he plays well, he has to kind of groove his way into the match, and then he could perform on a high level. But with only a race to 4, race to 5, I guess what it was, I don't think he stands a chance against Michael. But against Jim Williams and Ross Smith, he surely has a chance. If he just plays his A game, he will comfortably win. But there, he is a little bit patchy, or quite bad at some times, and that is when Smith and Williams are risky opponents for Adrian, I guess.
Yeah, the way I assess this group is Michael, I mean, he's just too good. He makes it look so simple, so I expect him number one. Ross Smith, Jim Williams on their day, no easy task, but Adrian on his day is like one of the best.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So you talked about the format. I love the format. Short matches, quick, small groups. You know, the group stage first, then the knockout. Every game matters. I find it to be a fun tournament.
It's quite interesting because it's prone for shocks. If you look at the other groups, for example, Cross playing against Ashton in the group and Price will face Suzuki as examples. That can be close matches, but if you lose like 5-0 or maybe 5-4, every leg matters. Everything matters. Every result matters. And before you know it, you could be playing really well, but out of the group, maybe third or fourth, while playing well. And some people who scrape through with bad plays and maybe only getting a win and 2 losses can go through, which is really harsh, but that makes it interesting in my opinion.
Group E looks tough to me. Cross, Chisnell, Hughes, and Ashton. Group H as well with Michael Smith, Aspinall, Schindler, and Durant. Those are 2 pretty tough groups. I know you're a fan of the ladies with Ashton and Suzuki. How do you think they're going to fare this year?
It's quite interesting actually. Ashton is really capable of high scoring and high averages and making it hard for anybody. You saw it in the World Championship last year when Ashton played Decker, and she had a great first set averaging 107, and Decker didn't knew what's hit him. So she is capable of pulling off a run of 3-4 legs straight, and that can make it interesting with the short format in the group stages.
Well, one of the things I found interesting about that match with Decker is the intensity that Decker brought back after the commercials, because he fully understood that he was in a match.
All the pressure was on him. It was actually quite funny on Dutch TV. He is a lot on Dutch TV. He does punditry there as well. He said in before the draw, he said you would be unlucky to draw against a lady, and unfortunately for him, he drew against Ashton, and she made it a game for him, and all the pressure was against him. The crowd was against him, so I guess he needed to let all the tension go. And that's what he did. And Ashton slowed a bit down, so that worked in Decker's favor.
Yeah, well done to him, because he was in a tight one there and he pulled through nicely. Suzuki is a massive talent. What she did at Lakeside last year was incredible. She lit the place on fire. I really hope she comes out and pulls off a few upsets.
I hope she can do as well. It's quite remarkably to how she has risen, because I didn't know her at the start of last year, and suddenly, boom, she wins the BDO Ladies World Championships out of nowhere for me. Maybe followers of the Asian tours most probably know her better than I do, but for me, it was a complete shock, but she can play.
Well, absolutely. That was the first chance I got to watch her play, was at the Lakeside, and I was fully impressed. She almost had the 9 darter. She was on it anyway. Okay, back to Adrian. They call him Jackpot. But if darts were a slot machine, my friend, of late, he hasn't had 3 sevens in some time. And I want to talk about why you think this is. He's won so many tournaments, and we have to call 2011, 2012 his heyday. The 2 world titles, of course. Back then, he was a different player, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. What I think is his game isn't really changed as much. It's more mentally, I think. He started doubting when things were going wrong, and that's where the errors came really, and we go more in depth.
Yeah, let's talk about that more, but I want to talk about 2011 when he beats Gary Anderson 7-5 in the final, had the 9 darter, just 25 years old, the PDC's youngest world champ ever. I mean, he was on fire in that final, and the next year he goes back-to-back. He has his way with Andy Hamilton in the final, 7-3, but the semifinal with Wade was the real showstopper. Huge comeback. What are your reflections from those 2 world championships? What do you remember best about the way he was and the form he was in back then?
If you look about his win in 2011, it was bound to be happen for me. It's just like if you compare it to Michael Smith now, it's waiting for breaking that duck. And for Adrian, it was the World Championships that year. It was magnificent. Beating Mark Webster in the semis, and then Gary Anderson in the final, of course, with the 9th daughter. Everything clicked. Everything was absolutely right, and that in that environment, he is bound to shine. He was shining like a bright star. And in 2012, he was obviously full in confidence, being the reigning world champion. And after a slow start to the tournament, he slightly grew and grew more to the level. And then again, James Wade, great show of character, I guess, of Wade was miles and miles ahead of him in that game. And then, of course, the Breeze Gate went and happened.
Yeah, there was lots going on. By the way, that Wade match, he was down 2-0 and 5-1. He won the next 5 sets, including 10 straight legs, and he finished on a 161 checkout. It's like scintillating darts. We know what he can do. So he's on top of his game there. And I've heard it said, when you think of boxing, you win the world championship, you're the heavyweight champ. It's tough to get up in the morning when you're all of a sudden rich, wearing silk pajamas, eating caviar, to get up and train, to practice. And I'm wondering if that's part of it. He won a lot of money back then, and maybe his life changed.
I think that could be, but it's a different approach. He approaches it differently. From what I've heard is that he's not the biggest practicer in the world. I can't confirm because I do not know him personally, but from what he says is that he takes 1 or 2 days in before a tournament and packs it in with wham bam practice sessions of like 8 or 10 hours straight before a tournament starts, and not gradually building it up from like a week before a tournament starts and then practicing 2 hours a day, then 4, and so gradually building the practice up. Also has to matter with when Deller managed him, that he weared him out to going almost every exhibition and choosing for the money instead of maybe practicing, which has harmed him.
Yeah, I know Jeff Smith, a Canadian, talked about practice on Twitter once. He said he likes to do it in 20-minute spurts, like the same length as a match, take a break, and then go back to it where he can really focus. When you look at how competitive the PDC is these days, that practice regiment that you just outlined there from Jackpot, that ain't going to cut it.
Not for me. What I said, it was probably better for him if he gradually built it up from like 2 hours a day, or maybe 1 day practice and then 1 day doing nothing, and then the third day practicing 3 or 4 hours instead of 2, and building it up so you can get the grip of it, practice different aspects instead of scoring or doubling or what I know of what for games he practices with. But I think that is better because you're practicing more better.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that a lot of the commentators, a lot of the pundits out there have talked about his rhythm, his flow, his pace. I know Wayne Mardle's mentioned it a few times that it's changed over the years. Back then he was just rat-a-tat-tat. And now he takes breaks, he does other things. Sometimes he's quick, sometimes he's slow.
Not only that, but if you look over the years, his elbow is slightly dropping and dropping with the year. And that is causing problems and inconsistencies, which made him doubt and made him try this things was what we saw last year with the slower pace and the rhythmic changes and routine changes, like going for double 16 instead of tops. And now that he scratched that and trying to go back, it's like almost he doesn't really know what and how he can come back to his old style of play.
You talk about the mental aspect, and for me, it's number one when it comes to darts. You got to believe that you can win, and when you start losing, your confidence takes a hit. And you see it in his demeanor on the hockey. I mean, sometimes he's fired up and shouting and right into it, and it appears like he wants to win at all costs. But other times, he's just sort of slumping around, his head is down, he looks dejected. I'm wondering, what's happening there?
I think he has lost all of his confidence, to be honest. He doesn't really know what he wants and how he wants to play. And after many losses, like last year, he lost a lot on the big stages. He played great on the floor and on the Euro tours. That gave him a little bit of confidence, but he kept getting knocked down on the televised events, and that slowly but surely wore him down. And this year, not even winning a televised match of ours. Last one was in December 2018, and I think the last couple of tournaments, it really, really broke him. Like if you saw him last week or 2 weeks ago at the European Championship, you saw he was really broken down when he couldn't find the second gear to challenge Whitlock.
Yeah, Whitlock put it to him there, didn't he?
Whitlock was great. I didn't expect it was because Whitlock didn't have a great year either.
So there are some other issues. A lot's happened in his career. You mentioned Keith Deller. The fallout there was his manager. What can you tell us about what happened with that?
I'm not really sure, but from what I know is that Deller made every opportunity to squeeze a penny out of Adrian, and he took that. Every exhibition that Adrian was possible to get booked for, he got booked. And I think that it wasn't really great for his career because he was wear down at the televised events. Yeah, he was making money at the exhibitions, but it was hurting his TV play. And I don't know what. Maybe there was a fallout, or maybe Adrian has saw the light on that matter himself and thought, "From now it's over, and I'm not going any way further with you. So we gotta quit." I don't know. And now they're in a legal battle, apparently.
Yeah, all that stuff away from the hockey can't help your play on it. Back in 2006, on his debut at the World Championship, he hit that amazing blind 180. He was playing Peter Manley, and then all hell broke loose afterwards. What do you remember about that match and all the controversy that happened there?
At the time, I was really young, but I've obviously seen it back. Yeah, those are the things that makes Adrian interesting to watch, I guess, because always there's something happening when he played. That blind 180, just wow, that's something we like to see. A showman who entertains us, and even from the start, he was that. And I think that that's one of the things that makes him likable, but also dislikable for others. It's just like Bryce. Some hate him, some love him, but he's sure interesting to watch.
Not only can he pile in the 180s when he's on, but there is always that added drama. More recently, Jose Justicia on the floor at the Players' Championship. When I saw that, I thought it was really going to come to blows.
Yeah, the pressure was immense. He was a little bit annoyed. You can't really talk it in a good way. It was a bad matter for Adrian, a bad head office. You can't do that, but the pressure was immense. He was with the back against the wall, and I think he couldn't really handle what was really happened after a poor half year in front of that, when he had the back injury and now with the World Championships, he had to battle his way back from the world number 20 to even the top 16 to try and get qualified for the televised majors. And I think it all got to him a bit, which resulted in that.
Yeah, we can't forget the back injury. I mean, all these little things add up.
It sure does. I don't know. There are a lot of great players who had injuries like Mardell and Manley and now Anderson. And with Mardell and Manley, they never really recovered of that. And we now see Anderson struggle a little bit and Adrian as well. We don't know if the injuries maybe are putting them off so bad that they can't really perform anymore. But I guess I still see that Adrian can come back, but something has to change. And I think that it's more the technical part of the game than the mental part, because he wants to, but I don't think he is using the right pace as example, or the elbow height, which makes him challenging again for the majors and coming back to the top four, which with his talent, he should be there.
Well, I'm a fan of Adrian Lewis, and when I watch him, I often draw the comparison to Michael Smith. I mean, you talk about pure talent. I mean, these two guys embody talent at the hockey. It's just so smooth. It seems so easy for them. Of course, Adrian's won the 2 world titles. Smith, they're banking on winning one. He hasn't yet. But do you find the same comparisons? Are they similar?
Yeah, I think I do. Only thing with Smith is that he is too negative, I guess. And that's what Adrian has learned to do, that block out the negative thoughts a little bit. It's still not great, but it's way better than Michael Smith. If he does that, I believe Michael Smith can at least win a major, and surely he will win the Worlds at some point in his career.
I'll tell you one comparison I'm not making, and I hate to bring this up, but I'm not comparing Adrian Lewis to Josh Payne in terms of fitness. I mean, when you look back in the day, Adrian was a lot thinner, seemed healthier. Sometimes today he's sweating on that hockey, and I don't know. I mean, you think he's got to look at fitness because it is becoming a big part of darts, isn't it?
It sure is. I think it's really important to be fit in like any particular sense. It's way better for your life on the hockey, but also better of your private life.
The other thing that I find interesting about Adrian Lewis, when you look at all the other dart players, he's one of the guys that seems to have a massive, fan club around the world. There are several fan accounts and some good ones on Twitter supporting Adrian Lewis. People have Adrian Lewis collections. I mean, besides all the 180s, what is the appeal? Is it everything you just talked about, that he's fun to watch? He's got these other things about him that make it interesting to watch him and see what unfolds on the television?
That is the most important thing, to be watchable and what I guess likable as well. If you see a lot of interviews with him, besides the incidents and stuff, you see that he's really a likable character. He is really a fun guy on stage. What he shows, his involvement with the crowd and with his fans makes him really popular. He's just a likable character on and off the hockey for the fan sides. Maybe his opponents will think otherwise. But I guess with everything mentioned, the scoring power, gestures, how he is with the fans, his capability, his talent, I think it also has to be, he is one of the first generational talents in the PDC. When the PDC started, the first young players that were coming through were like Adrian Lewis, James Wade, and Adrian has more charisma, I think, which helped him to get a lot of his fan base.
He's had a lot of success, a lot of spotlight, and sometimes, it's tough to be in that spotlight, especially on the downswing, right? Because everyone's looking to take a shot at you. You retweeted this from Psychology Living, and I found it interesting. The person who says it cannot be done should not interrupt the person who is doing it. And I like that. I think it applies to darts. I guess Adrian as well. Many critics, he's the one out there, though, living the life, slugging it out each week, win or lose. It's not like he doesn't want to be firing in 110 averages all the time. He's trying.
Of course he is trying, but not only that. Of course, if he loses, he will be sad, but he's not the only one. He has a whole other fan base who are sad as well that he has lost. There's a lot more pressure on his shoulders with everything he does on a dartboard, and other critics who will say, "Oh, you're finished, and he's not going to come back," and that could be really hurting if people constantly say that to you, or you read it constantly, and things aren't going well. It's really hard to get yourself back up and be positive and to get results, because if you're a little bit down and everyone is talking you down, it's really hard to bounce back and keep saying it to yourself, and I believe I can still do this.
It's all about belief. It really is. You got to walk up there and feel you can do it at any time. He really can do it. He's just got to get that belief back, and let's hope it happens at the Grand Slam with some pure excitement there. Stoke-on-Trent, 22-gram Target darts. You're a fan of Target, right?
Yeah, they make great supplies. I really love the stems, the flights, the shirt designs, and the way of how they market their players. It's just really professional inside and out, and that's what I really like about them.
And from what I see, Target really has control of a lot of the players, right? A big name in darts, Target.
Yeah, if you look at all the stars that were there with Taylor, Mardell, Chizzy, who's recently left, and Adrian, and I can go on for a long time.
The nickname Jackpot, he was a big winner in Vegas, I understand, but couldn't collect the money because he was too young?
Yeah, indeed he was. He was 20 years old at the time for if I remember correctly, the Las Vegas Darts Classic or Desert Classic, that was it. And he went to the casino with a bunch of the big boys, and he actually won. But yeah, you have to be 21 to collect the money, so that's why the nickname Jackpot stayed on, and it's quite a cool nickname if you ask me.
Let me ask you about the ideal situation for Jackpot. Two parts. Assuming he never wins a big one again and the downswing continues, what will his legacy be? And the second part to that is, what are you hoping he adds on to his career? Is it another world title? I mean, what do you hope happens from here on the upswing?
What I really hope is that he, first of all, finds his joy again in the game, and that goes along with improving some technical and mental things. But sure, if he gets the hang of it, he'll get back to that. What I hope for him is that at least he will be a player that can challenge the top guns of the game, like Van Gerwen and Anderson, Cross, Wright, and all the other big names, and maybe pick up another major. I think he already had a great career. Not many people can say that they are a two-time world champion, but if you look at what the potential he has got and what the potential has been said about that he has, that he could be the next Phil Taylor, it may be a bit disappointing. So it's quite hard to say. Someone with that talent should be maybe winning a lot more titles, but two world titles, a European Championship title, a UK Open title. I would be happy if he gets close to winning all the majors if he can get back. First of all, getting back in the Premier League would be nice.
I mean, 20 years from now, if he doesn't win anything major from here on in, you look back and you say massive talent, two-time world champion. That sounds pretty good.
It sure does.
Now, let me put you on the spot. The Grand Slam of darts, does he advance past the group stage?
If he played like yesterday, I think he has a shot to advance.
Okay, well, I look forward to it. I'll be watching him. I'll be cheering him on. You know, I was interviewed by DartsWeb1 for the blog, and I was asked to predict something in the future for darts, and I said that Adrian Lewis would be in a world final within 5 years. And that was, a year and a half ago. I hope that prediction comes true.
I hope so. If he sorts himself out, I think he is really capable of doing that.
Wesley Grendel at Vintage Jackpot on Twitter. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Good luck to Adrian in the next week or so.
Yeah, thank you. Really glad for having me. I enjoyed it.